Joined now by former Vancouver Canuck TSN hockey analyst, the one and only Frank Corrado. How we doing?
All good over here. What's going on over there?
Missing hockey, to be honest. Missing actual
hockey. No, it
Yeah.
has been a long time here between Canucks games, so looking forward to the Canucks and Canes. Because let's face it, Frank, two best coaching mugs in hockey, Rod Brind'Amour and Rick Tocchet, right?
Yeah, absolutely. All right. And I wonder if those guys went toe to toe right now, who would win that? Like Brind'Amour, I think, is still in the gym. Like he's still grinding. Sure. And Tocchet's just got that, I feel like Tocchet's got that thing where he'll just see red and kind of snap. And he's got the real, not old man strength, but he's got
strength. He's got the dad strength. Yeah.
You know what
absolutely.
I mean? That dad strength. But Rod the Bod, I think he's still setting the tone over there in the gym. Hardest working guy.
When you watch these two teams play, how similar are they stylistically?
I think they're a little different for me. I think the Canucks are maybe a little more calculated, and the Canucks want to play with the puck a little bit more than the Canes. The Canes, for me, it's puck pressure nonstop all game. And it's almost like they don't want to take very many chances in their own zone. So if what I've seen from them in the past still applies, it's anytime the puck's going to be in doubt tonight, they'll just high flip it out of the zone. They'll do it 4 times in a row. Or they'll go off the glass. And they just want to get you into positions where they're going to get you into foot races and put pressure on you and force you into mistakes where the Canucks have elements of that. But I think the Canucks game, it's a little more crisp. It's a little more smooth. There's a little more skill involved in the way the Canucks play because you have to understand what you have, right? The Canucks have high-end skill. I think the Canes have some skilled players. But as a team, the brand of hockey that they want to play, it's if it was compared to UFC, it would be ground and pound. Just put the pressure on you, force you into mistakes, and find a way to get you into submission somehow.
2 practices Sunday, Monday after the All-Star game, and the All-Stars took part on Sunday. But would you, as a coach, be at all worried about readiness of the 6 guys? And not because they were unprofessional by any stretch of the imagination, just busy and sort of yanked here and there with media availabilities and such. Is it tougher to get the 6 guys back in focus, or I guess 5 guys? No, 6. Or do you think that it's been close enough and wasn't a long travel to Carolina they can get back onto it with a couple practices?
I think that's just a long weekend. It's a lot for those guys. There's a lot of media obligations. There's a lot of getting dragged here and there to do this, to do that, and I think if you go to an All-Star game, I obviously never went in my career, but you want to enjoy all the experiences that are involved in that. Why wouldn't you? You're not going to go to your hotel room at 10 o'clock and shut it down, even if you have family there, even if you're a family guy, you have kids there, you're just doing stuff. There's so many activities for you to do. So I would expect there to be a little bit of that. Now, I don't know if that happens early in the game. I was at the game in Toronto last night, and you could see a little bit of that kind of fog fatigue happen later in the game. There was a couple breakdowns at that point. And we're I wonder if that has anything to do with the long weekend. But listen, the guys, they're pretty dialed in as far as, how they need to prepare for a game. And that's the nature of the beast. When you have 6 guys go to the All-Star game, there's going to be your 6 best players who are kind of affected by the schedule and all that entails. But I don't expect it to be that big of a deal. But if they come out and they're slow and, it seems like they're a little fatigued and they can't execute, you can obviously look at that and say, well, that's a viable reason as to why that would be happening.
New body in the room, though, might get them excited too, right? So you've got that as a sort of a negative pull, perhaps, but you've got Lindholm there. And if I'm Elias Pettersson, at least, I'm pretty excited.
I'm very excited if I'm him because now it's listen, you have a guy who is having a down year for sure, but can be trusted in so many different situations, and you're going to get the responsibility that you kind of want or crave. It's you're getting that now. And if you weren't maybe getting it a ton before, there's no reason why you wouldn't. And he should be a big bolster to the team in a number of different ways. Obviously, we talk about defensively, what he brings to the table. There's probably a little more offensive, pop there to be had this season. We've seen it in the past, but a new player in the room. And I think it's that. I think it's an individual thing, but I think even more than that, it's just the message has kind of been sent now from the management group that you're in this and we're going to do it. And we're kind of in this win now, kind of all in mode, whatever you want to call it. I think that as a group, that has to be very energizing for everyone to know that the message has been sent. Now it's on us. And you know what? There's a month that we have here to show that, you know, we actually really do mean business. Maybe they'll get us something even more to help us along the way. So I think that that might be able to kind of counteract any, you know, sleepiness or fatigue from whatever the All-Star weekend kind of entailed.
Well, that brings us to our poll question then, Frank. Should the Canucks spend the assets to make another all-in trade? Are they pot committed at this point?
You know, like it's so nuanced, right? Because like, what does that mean? Does that mean you have to get rid of your best prospects just to do it? Like, do you have to get rid of Willander and Lekaramaki just because you're all in? Like, I don't think the definition all in necessarily means that you have to expend your best prospects. Like, what if you just got to the point where you're like, we're tapped out cap wise, we're tapped out on our roster players, we like the way everything fits lower in the lineup, so like, do we need to make a move just for the sake of saying we are so all in that we traded this prospect and that prospect? You know what I mean? Like, you just get to a point where you're kind of maxed out. So like, they can still be all in and not have to kind of mortgage, you know, players that should actually help the team sooner rather than later because they're really good and they're on good kind of trajectories. So it's interesting, but I still, like, as much as they're all in, I just don't think it has to come at the expense of making moves just for the sake of making moves to signify that you're all in.
Gotcha. I think we talked last week about Tanev, a second and a B prospect or something like that. I mean, I think some people would say that's all in.
Yeah, I think
even if it doesn't, even if it doesn't
I don't
include.
see why not. Like, I don't see why not. I think that's, like, if you look at the blue line right now, like, Carson Soucy is a little bit of a question mark just because of like the injuries, right? Like when you've had a season where those things kind of pile up, you kind of figure the next one's looming around the corner because you don't have the time. You don't have the time to kind of, you know, not just only get back to neutral, but, you know, recondition yourself so that you don't get hurt again. And like, maybe there is something that happens on the blue line that you say, okay, that can really help us because now we're 7 or 8 deep where we feel like we really have a lot of answers to whatever teams are going to throw at us.
Before you throw any more names at them here, Matt, let me ask you this, Frank. When do you believe you can win the Cup? Now, you were on the 16-17 Penguins. You had Sidney Crosby and Evgeny Malkin. Of course, you think you can win the Cup. Do you think the Canucks in training camp, do you think in their heart of hearts, you think they went to bed dreaming this could be the year we win the Cup? When do those dreams start, and does it take a trade like that for them to wake up and realize maybe we can win the Cup this year? When do you think that belief actually starts?
So it's funny, like, I wasn't there much that year, but when I got there, like, so I got traded. I first went down to Wilkes-Barre. I got called up maybe a month after that, and I was playing my first game in Buffalo. And one of the guys, like, I was talking to him, guy I knew from the past. He's like, "Yeah, man, don't worry, we're really good, and we're probably going to win the Cup again this year." Like, we're like, that was one of the first conversations I had where I was. You know, the guy was like, "How you feeling? How's travel? This and that." I'm like, "Oh, you know, it's good, whatever." He's like, you know, "How you feel about the game tonight?" I'm like, you know, a little nervous, new team, all that stuff. He goes, "Don't worry, man, we're really good." And, you know, like, we'll probably end up winning the Cup again this year. Sure enough, I only played 2 games in the regular season that year, but I'll never forget that conversation. And so that was like, okay, these guys, they must have known that they had the chops to do it coming into the season, and then everything kind of went their way, and they were really sure of themselves. And I would classify that as confidence, not cockiness.
But they had pedigree too. They had pedigree, right? You know, this Canuck group doesn't have pedigree, so like,
they don't have that because they haven't done it. But if they won a Cup this year and they had the same team coming back and they got off to a great start the next season, it's like, why wouldn't you be having those exact same conversations? But like a team like that's really sure of themselves, like, I think they know early on in the season. The problem in the Western Conference is, would you be surprised that when it's all said and done, if I told you one of Vancouver, Edmonton, Vegas, Dallas, Colorado, or Winnipeg won the Stanley Cup this year? Would that surprise you?
Not really. No. I mean, given what we know of them in previous years, yes, but for this year, no.
For this year.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like there's a lot of viable options that could win the Cup in the Western Conference this year, where I feel like that year it was the Pens and, like, I don't know, maybe the Caps and then everyone else. Like, it just didn't feel like there was that much as far as, like, legit competition. Like, Chicago was on their down kind of run. LA had their success already. Like, it was the Penguins' time. I don't even think Tampa Bay was ready to take that. Now, like, it just felt like it was them and everyone else. And I feel like with this year, especially in the West, there's 6 teams that could legit win the Stanley Cup this year, and you wouldn't be that surprised.
Lindholm as the net front guy, Miller in the bumper, Besser and Pettersson on the flanks. At least that's how they practiced power play one. What do you make of that alignment?
It might change a million times before the playoffs. You know, like now that you have a new player and a new presence, you want to see how that all works out. But for me, like, Lindholm's probably not a half wall guy. So I don't see him there. Pettersson and Besser, I actually like them both on the half wall because they provide like a one-time shooting threat when they're on their offsides, and that will open up space for Quinn Hughes. And Quinn Hughes was talking about it at the All-Star game here with Bieksa, how Sergei Gonchar is on him to shoot the puck way more. So, like, there's you can definitely tell there's more of an urgency, and we've been talking about that all year long. But it's just interesting to hear it from him. You know, that there's that urgency. And JT Miller, like, I think when he's in the bumper position, he has the opportunity to not just get stuck in the mud and say, well, I'm the bumper guy and this is kind of where I play. Like, I feel like he can be a little bit of a rover in that position. And that's intriguing for me because I feel like that's similar to the Edmonton power play where, you know, Nugent Hopkins, he'll kind of he'll roam around a little bit. He'll go towards the net. He'll go higher in the zone. And, like, JT Miller has that, like, he has that commanding ability with the puck where I feel like he can make things happen from that position. So listen, it looks like it would be pretty good, and it might change 4 or 5 times. It might not. They might just catch lightning in a bottle, and it might just work right away.
Lastly, people are saying this was a very good All-Star weekend, albeit with a low bar. What did you make of it? Was there something that stood out for you?
I was supposed to go down there, and I was under the weather. So All-Star game comes to Toronto. I don't get down there for not even a second of it. So I only got to watch it on TV. Thought the draft was kind of, you know, it's tough to do something like that. Like, I feel like there's no playbook on how to do anything like that, unless you're going to just copy the way the NBA does it, I guess. But anyways, the draft it is what it is. It's a little goofy, but I'm happy they brought it back. And then I thought the skills was good. I had no problem with it. I thought, you know, for the most part, guys tried hard. Obviously, Kucherov didn't. That's his decision to do that. And but I thought guys tried hard. I think it was fitting that McDavid won because he is the most skilled player in the league. Obviously, he had a hand in designing it. So I feel like that was fitting. And then the game itself, I actually enjoyed. Like, I actually didn't feel like it was a chore to watch that game. So I think, you know, overall, there was no gimmicks. I feel like it was hockey. There was some good entertainment. I thought the celebrities did a really good job. You know, like Will Arnett and Michael Bublé, you can really tell that those guys are like legit fans and they actually know a thing or two about hockey. Like,
Arnett talks about hockey way too much on Smartless. Every time he talks about hockey, I think you're alienating like 98% of your audience.
Yeah,
but he loves it.
He loves it. And Bublé, like when Bieksa was talking to Bublé about the differences between the 2011 team and this year's team, it's like he actually had answers. Like, he actually had legit, like, he remembers watching that team play. Like, I just thought that was so cool. I think like with having those guys involved, I think it really kind of nailed the celebrity portion of it. Listen, Bieber is what he is, and Tate McRae's performance was awesome. So there was just so many positives for a weekend that's usually kind of riddled with why did they do this? Why did they do that? That's a gimmick. That's stupid. Like the kids, like it's always for the kids. I thought the kids would have got a lot out of it. And I think if you're a hockey fan, for the most part, I don't see why you wouldn't have enjoyed, especially the skills and the game itself.
I'll tell you why I didn't enjoy the skills, Frank Corrado. TDL.
Too damn long?
Wow. Especially when you've got a guy like Kucherov half-assing it. Like you say, he didn't have a problem with it. I was glad the Toronto fans got on Kucherov.
Well,
he was trying to make a sham of it, for God's sakes. Like if you don't want to be there, then bow out at the final
But
moment.
that's great. Emotion at the All-Star game is a good thing.
Wow.
So rare.
I wonder, like, because they had the announcement earlier in the day about the Four Nations Cup, and there was no Russia involved. And I wonder if he's like, you know what, I'm not going to do your dog and pony show if you're not going to, let Russia. I don't know. Like, that's just obviously wild
good theory.
Speculation. But
Pouty.
Yeah.
I saw
like that. I feel like he's the kind of guy where he's like, this means nothing. So, I'm not gonna sing and dance for you. I don't know. Maybe I'm reading it wrong, but I feel like that's the kind of attitude he would have.
I don't know. Like, the passing event just needs to go. The one-timers need to be like big, hard one-timers, not like
I was
half
actually
slappers.
I was wondering that about the one-timers because those passes were really soft.
Yeah.
And some guys, like the guys that have really good one-timers in the league, they'll tell you like, no, send it with a little zip. Like I want.
It's physics, energy in, energy out.
Right.
Yeah. Did you see there was some clips rolling around about like there was an All-Star game in the 90s. I think there was a clip of Tony Amonte when he was playing for Chicago where he had to do like this 5-puck kind of breakaway thing really quick. Why don't we bring that back? That was kind of cool.
That had energy and speed at the very least, whereas a lot of these did not have energy or speed.
You know what? I got one observation on the hardest shot. All these guys, because the game has changed now, everyone's doing this quick little snapper release, right? And especially the defensemen nowadays. Like you just can't load up the big bomb one-timer the way you used to be able to.
Yeah, JT Miller does that one, yeah.
So guys are using like, 85 flex, 90 flex. Like as my career went on, my flex got whippier. Like it started off with like an 100 flex. I finished my career at 90 because I was like, I just need to get this and just whip it off my stick. So we're not seeing like the 105s, 106s when it comes to the hardest shot anymore. So you see 102 now and you're like, wow. You're like, there were years where 102 would get you like third or fourth place. But I think guys are just using the whippier sticks because that's what you need in a game.
We need Ally Afraidy back with the wood stick.
Just wait till Connor Bedard puts on 10 more pounds, and he'll be winning.
Lastly, did you see Demko snub Swayman on the hug?
I loved it.
You think it was intentional? You think he saw it and said, "Nope, I'm not taking part"?
I kind of do think that, yeah. Like obviously, like the guy's there with his arms in the air for a big hug, and I loved every second of it. Whether like I don't know why he did it. Maybe he was just goofing on like the guy, because he's like, this guy wants a hug. I'm not going to give him a hug. But if it was like a Bruins kind of Canucks thing, I think that's brilliant. I think that's knowing your market and playing to it perfectly. So well done by Thatcher Demko.
Serving notice. You're the best team in the East. We're the best team in the West. We'll see you in the Cup final. Not my job to pump your tires.
Exactly.
Or give you hugs.
There's so much of this like
love it
wax kind of stuff. It's like, you know what? That's kind of cool. Like the cameras are on. It's like, dude, I don't know you. You don't exist. You play for the Bruins. Like,
dude, I don't know you.
Right. What we need next is the tag team match at WrestleMania, Luongo and Demko against Tim Thomas and Jeremy Swayman.
Oh, yeah, I pay for it.
Bring the house down.
I think like Lou would probably want to drop an elbow on Tim Thomas from like the top of the cage or something.
I think most people would. Yeah.
Yeah. I think Lou would make a good wrestler, actually.
He would. Yeah.
Expressive, cut a good promo. Marva, great stuff.
I
Frank.
just picture him like I picture him having like some kind of like submission finisher
Right.
move with like the look on his face, like tap out.
Yeah, exactly. Some sort of full Nelson. Yeah, we got you now. You're not going anywhere.
Like playing up to the crowd, like, yeah, something like that.
Oh, amazing.
The figure 4 leg lock.
Jimmy Hart ponytail with the loud jacket, maybe.
Okay, we're off the rails here. Thanks, Frankie. Until next week.
See you guys.
Hey, everybody. If you're enjoying what you're seeing here, then follow along with Sekeres and Price on YouTube. I promise more content coming.
The kids call it subscribe on YouTube.
Well, how about liking it?
Do that as well. Smash it right now.